I need you to listen carefully, not like someone listening to just another video, but like someone who knows they might be receiving a crucial warning. You know that feeling that something is about to happen, but no one talks openly about it. That restlessness that insists on saying pay attention to something. It's not right. That's exactly it. Something is happening, and with each passing day the pieces of this puzzle are moving. The problem is that when everything fits together it may be too late to understand. Have you noticed how the world is quieter in a way? Strange, as if something was being ripped from everyday life, but no one talks about it. It's not the kind of silence that brings calm, but the kind that leaves the house empty in a way that the heart feels before reason even understands it. It's like waking up and realizing that a presence was removed not because it wanted to leave, but because much greater forces are at play. That's exactly what we need to talk about now. The scariest thing is that it won't start with something obvious, sneaky, like corners, and when you look directly at it, it will be small absences, until one day everything seems different. The bed will still be made, the glass on the table, but whoever used to be there won't be there anymore, and before you think this is just a goal, let me tell you, this is a warning. You can choose to ignore it and continue living as if everything is normal, or you can stop now and ask yourself, what if this is true? What if this message came to me for a reason? Because you are not here by chance, and if you have come this far it is because something in you knows that you need to listen until the end. This is your chance to understand what no one else is telling you. It is not about fear, it is about preparation, because when all this starts to happen around you many will try to find rational explanations. But you will know, you will remember this moment, you will know that it was not a coincidence. The world is not as random as they try to make us believe, and that is why it matters, because we are talking about those who sustain our lives with their faith, silent prayers, the presence you may have ignored for so long, but without it everything falls apart. The elderly are not just memories of the past, they are the living link between heaven and earth, and when they are gone what will be left? Maybe you are asking if there is a way out of all this, and I tell you yes. But first you need to understand the size of this battle. You need to feel the urgency of every word that is being said here, because this video is not entertainment. It is an invitation to open your eyes and prepare for something that can completely change your life and the lives of those you love. So I ask you to stay until the end. Listen with an open heart, because every detail that comes to mind following can be the difference between being prepared or being caught off guard. And I'll tell you one last thing before you go: it's not too late. But only for those who are ready, and you are. If you're still here, it means something inside you understands the gravity of this moment. And that's why I need your full attention without distractions. Because from now on there is no room for half-truths or comfortable illusions. What I'm going to reveal may shake your deepest certainties, but it may also be what will keep you standing when the ground around you seems to crumble. Can you feel it? This chill down your spine that comes from the unknown, as if something invisible was watching you from afar, waiting for the right moment to act. I'm not here to scare you, I'm here to open your eyes. There is no denying that we are living in dark times, and the signs are already around us even if many refuse to see them. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow and realized that someone very important was no longer there, and not because they left or moved away, but because they simply disappeared without explanation, without traces, just emptiness, leaving behind everything that was familiar: the cup on the table, the rosary still rolled up in the hand of the favorite chair, the heavy silence of a home that has lost its soul. How to deal with this without going crazy? Maybe you think, this would never happen to me, but it really will. How many times have you seen something unbelievable happen to someone and wondered what it would be like if it were you? The truth is that no one is immune, and the cruelest thing is that there will be no explicit warning, there will be no obvious signs for everyone. It will be like a shadow crossing a dark room. You only realize that something was there when it is too late. That is why I need you understand this battle will not be fought with the eyes, it will be felt with the soul. The first blow will not be physical, it will be spiritual. The elderly, those who carry within themselves all the strength of prayers, will be the first to feel the weight of this war, because they are not only the most old, they are the pillars that support the faith of families. And when these pillars are removed, what will be left? What is happening is not a coincidence. It is not a coincidence. It is a clear message that something bigger is moving when you stop paying attention to the spiritual roots that support your home. You open space for something dangerous. Do not think that evil enters through the door from the front. It infiltrates the cracks of neglect, in the lack of prayer, in the absence of faith. And that is exactly what it wants: a home without protection, a heart without light. So I ask you, are you really prepared to face what is coming? Because when people start to disappear, there will be no immediate answers that can calm you. Despair will take over those who do not understand what is happening. They will look for answers in the news, in theories, but they will not find it, because the truth does not reveal itself to those who close their eyes. But you do not need to be one of those people. You are here now, and that means you have a chance to prepare yourself, to protect what matters most, and I will show you how. But before you do, you need to accept that there is an invisible war going on, and that what you do from this moment on can completely change the ending of this story. If you are still with me, then stay strong. What comes next is the next step to understanding what is at stake, and, more importantly, how can you fight? I will show you that there is no greater force than well-directed faith. Do not look away, the journey is far from over. If you are still here, it is because something deeper called you, something that not even you can fully explain. And this is exactly how it starts. First a restlessness in your chest, then an insistent thought that you try to push away, but that always comes back until it becomes impossible to ignore. This is not a coincidence, it is a sign, and signs cannot be treated with indifference. We are talking about a type of war that will not be announced in headlines or on social media. It will not come with sirens or official alerts. On the contrary, it begins in the subtlety, in the invisible, in the small absences that take shape until they become an abyss. That is why many will be caught by surprise, living as if nothing could reach them while the columns that support their lives begin to crumble in silence. Have you ever felt that sometimes the house becomes heavier, as if something were missing, but you didn't know exactly what? It's as if the walls held an absence that doesn't give to fill with distractions or everyday tasks, because it is not a common absence. It is an echo of the lack of something spiritual, something that used to protect, but has been weakened. Now imagine it spreading from home to home, until it becomes a pattern that no one can explain. The first to leave will be those who for a long time supported their families with prayer and faith, the elderly who many already consider them obsolete, but in fact they are the guardians of an invisible, but powerful legacy. They are the ones who silently offer their pain and their sleepless nights to protect those they love, and yet they have been forgotten by a world that thinks it no longer needs them. And it is precisely in this arrogance that the danger lies. When they are no longer here, what will happen? Have you stopped to think? Will your daily prayers fill the space they left, or will your home become yet another vulnerable territory exposed to the forces that feed on absence of faith? Because believe, where there is no prayer, there are gaps, and where there are gaps, something always enters, and that something does not come to bring peace. I know these words may seem harsh, but I am not here to comfort you with illusions. I am here to awaken you because it does not matter how much security the world sells you. There is no greater protection than active faith. A lived faith that is not just a pretty word, but a wall that is built with each sincere prayer. You can see the pattern. Humanity has been moving away from what is sacred, and by doing so, it is removing its own spiritual defenses. Evil does not need to break down doors to enter. He only needs to find a home that is no longer inhabited by the divine presence, and when he enters, he does not bring noise. He brings chaos disguised as routine, fear disguised as logic, emptiness disguised as normality. That is why I ask you, what is the condition of your home today? Who are the pillars of your home? What happens if they are removed? Don't think you have plenty of time, because time is treacherous with those who procrastinate. And the first gap opens when you think you can leave for tomorrow what you should have done today. But the good news is that you are still here, and if you have come this far, it is because there is still time. There is still a way to protect what you love, but this requires a decision, not a decision of convenience, but a choice that involves faith and courage. The journey continues, and the next step will show you the way to not just be someone who watches everything happen. You will know what to do. But above all, you will understand that this fight is won first within you. Let's move forward. You are closer than you imagine to understanding your role in this story. You are still here. This says much more about you than you imagine. It shows that something in your heart has already understood this is not just another story. It is a real warning. And perhaps for the first time, you have felt the weight of what is happening around you. It is as if the penny began to drop, but that suffocating question still remained: what can I do? Before I answer, I need to take you deeper, because it's not enough to understand what's happening. You need to recognize the size of the battle that's being fought, not outside, but inside people's homes. That's where it all begins. Evil does not invade homes with violence. It infiltrates when the heart no longer believes in the importance of prayer, and the first blow is always against those who spiritually support families, the elderly. Have you ever stopped to think about the value of the presence of an elderly person in the home? They don't just fill the space with stories or memories. They sustain the spiritual atmosphere with silent prayers, with words of faith whispered when no one is listening. Many go unnoticed, almost invisible, but they carry within themselves a force that no scientific manual can explain: lived faith. And when they disappear, the invisible protection also disappears. Maybe you're thinking that this all seems exaggerated, but listen to me. There's nothing more dangerous than believing that the invisible doesn't matter, because when the spiritual columns start to fall, the impact is not felt immediately. It comes as a crack that slowly spreads until one day you realize that there is nothing left to hold the walls of your life. What amazes me is how the world has normalized this disconnection with the spiritual. How many homes still start the day with a prayer? How many families come together in faith? It is exactly this absence that is making room for something much bigger and darker than we can imagine. And the scariest thing is that evil knows this. He doesn't need to rip the doors off to get in. He just needs to find a home where faith has been abandoned and the elderly, who should be protected and loved, have been relegated to oblivion. The modern world has turned them into extras in its own story, as if their importance had ceased. And it is this indifference that creates the first breach, because in despising those who pray for us, we also despise the protection that these prayers bring us. You feel this, the weight of what I'm saying, because you know on some level that you've seen this happen. Houses that were once full of life, that are now just cold walls, families that were once united and suddenly they fall apart in arguments, lack of love, and silence. It's no coincidence, it's the absence of the spiritual taking over. But now I need to tell you something important. This is not irreversible. No matter how dark the night seems, there's still time to rekindle the light, and this light starts with you. It doesn't matter if you feel small or incapable. Faith is built with small daily acts, with conscious decisions to reconnect with what is sacred. I know it's not easy. The world tries to convince you that prayer is a waste of time, that there are rational explanations for everything. But here is the truth: what is spiritual cannot be explained if it is lived. And if you have come this far, it is because something in you already knows that it is time to live this for real. The next part is crucial because it is not enough to understand what's going on. You need to act, and I'm going to show you how. If you're ready for it, if you want to protect what's most important, so keep going. The time for hesitation is over. The choice is in your hands. You are still here. That says so much more than any words I could use, because staying here means you didn't allow yourself to take your eyes off the truth. You chose to keep going even though you felt the weight of each word. This is courage, and that is exactly what you will need. The time has come to talk about the real impact of what we are facing, not only about the absence of the elderly, but about what happens when this spiritual absence sets in once and for all. What I'm going to tell you now may be uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. When prayer fades away within a home, when the link with the sacred is broken, what seemed impossible begins to happen. Homes that were once protected become fragile, what was strong collapses. And all this often happens without you noticing immediately. The silence sets in a treacherous way. At first, it is interpreted as routine, An ordinary day in which the noise has been replaced by a time of peace. But this peace is not true. It is just the interval before the storm. And when the absence of the prayers of those who have always supported us begins to weigh, the effect is devastating. A house without faith is like a fortress without walls, and when the doors open, it's not always possible to close them in time. Have you ever noticed how the absence of a person of faith in the family changes everything? It's not just the empty chair in the dining room, it's the weight of silence in the heart. It's the feeling that even with everyone there, something essential is missing. Homes that were once sanctuaries of love and protection become vulnerable territories subject to fears that did not exist before, fights that arise out of nowhere, and a void that cannot be filled with material things. You may be thinking, this won't happen to me, but are you sure that today, at this very moment, your home is really protected? Or have you also let daily prayers become a forgotten habit? This is where darkness advances, in complacency, in the lack of attention to what really matters. And then, once they enter, the feeling of control slips away like sand through your fingers. Now imagine not just a home like that, but an entire society following the same path. The world is moving faster and faster towards a place where everything seems to be in ruins, families divided, bonds cut off, love replaced by pride. This is exactly what happens when spiritual pillars are removed, without intercessors, without those who pray silently for us. The enemy finds space to plant confusion and destruction. But pay attention, I am not here to leave you in despair. I am here to remind you of something very important. There is a way out. No matter how difficult things seem or how many wrong steps have been taken so far, as long as there is faith, as long as there's a heart willing to fight, there will always be a chance for reconstruction. And this reconstruction starts with you. Maybe you think, but I'm not like them, I don't have that much faith. Let me tell you a secret. Faith isn't about being perfect. It's about not giving up even when everything around you tells you to stop. It's about saying a sincere prayer even when your voice seems weak. Because every word spoken with faith is a stone placed back in the wall that protects your home. Now take a deep breath, because what comes next is the key to turning the game around. If up until now you have felt the impact of what has been said, know that the next part is not about warnings. It is about action, and I will show you that you are not alone. There is a force at your side waiting to act as soon as you take the first step. You've come too far to turn back now, let's continue. The time to act is now. If you're still with me, this means that you are ready for something bigger, ready to understand that it is not enough to just watch from afar or silently nod your head. No. This is not an invitation to passivity. It is a call to stand up and do something that many will not have the courage to do. Take the reins of your own spiritual protection and that of your home. You know why so many homes fall apart without warning. Because no one notices when faith turns into empty routine. Suddenly, actions stop being heartfelt pleas and become soulless, repeated words, and what happens when a wall is built with hollow bricks? It falls, not at the first breeze, but at the first storm, and the storm is already here. announcing its arrival in every small act of disregard for the sacred. You feel the weight of it. I'm not talking about a distant threat. I'm talking about the real life of families who are getting lost, not because they lack resources, but because they lack living faith. There is a lack of that moment when everyone closes their eyes and together finds something greater than themselves. This is not superstition. It is not dogma. It is survival. It is the invisible shield that prevents what is outside from coming in and destroying what you love most. That's why I need that you understand something that few have the courage to say. The enemy never needs to attack directly when he finds someone already vulnerable. He takes advantage of the moments when we let our guard down. A meaningless discussion that grows and turns into emotional distance. An absence that lasts until it turns into permanent emptiness. And all of this could be avoided with something so simple, but so forgotten. Prayer in unity. If you have never prayed with your family holding hands, I challenge you, because right there in that moment you will feel the power that exists in shared faith. You will realize that it's not just about words, but about a force that crosses generations and creates a spiritual barrier capable of resisting the greatest darkness. But I need to be straight with you. This barrier doesn't build itself, and it's not a quick fix. Faith isn't magic, it's commitment, and commitment requires constancy, because just as a flame needs oxygen to stay lit, your faith needs repeated actions of sincere prayers, of daily encounters with that which is divine. And do not think that you need to be perfect for this. Perfection was never the requirement. You may be tired, broken, full of doubts. What matters is your decision to try. What matters is the first yes you give, even in the midst of an internal storm, because that's when things start to change. Now stop for a moment, look around you, remember the faces of those you love. They may not know it, but you are the wall that can protect them all, and you know why. Because the simple fact that you are here listening to this until the end is already a sign that you have been called to something greater. The journey is far from over, but you have already taken a step that many do not have the courage to take. You have recognized that there is a battle going on, and this is the greatest act of resistance, because the greatest triumph of darkness is to convince you that there is no war at all. But now you know the truth, and knowing that, the only thing left is to act. The next step is not a warning. It is an invitation for you to begin building your spiritual fortress, because time is passing, and shadows advance where the light goes out. But here is the good news. A spark of faith can rekindle a flame that illuminates the impossible, and that spark could be you. Let's move on. The story is not yet over. You've come this far because deep down you know you can't go back. Something has changed inside you. What was once just a doubt has become a certainty. You are part of this battle whether you like it or not, and every decision you make from now on defines not only your destiny, but also that of those you love. The world out there will continue to try to convince you that all of this is an exaggeration. They will say that things are as they are, that everything can be resolved with time and distraction. But let me tell you something. Time doesn't heal what is spiritual. There's no point in waiting. There's no point in trying to ignore it. When the lack of faith takes over, it doesn't ask for permission. It consumes and consumes you quickly. You've seen a house that was once full of life become cold and empty. You've seen a family that once shared love and unity dissolve into fights and silence. This doesn't happen overnight. It happens when the pillars that support the home are removed one by one, and the strongest of all these pillars is the faith sustained by those who still believe and pray even when no one else seems to pay attention. And that is why the elderly are the first targets, because they are the guardians of prayers, the last bastions of a lived faith that has gone through storms, wars, and losses. When they leave, the home does not just lose a family member, it loses its invisible wall. That prayer said at dawn, the whispered blessing before sleep, the firm look that even in silence said, "Everything will be fine because God is with us." When this disappears, it is overwhelming. Maybe you are wondering how I can prevent this from happening, and I will tell you, it is not with grand gestures. It is not with perfection. It is with living faith, even if small. It is with the simple act of remembering that you are not alone in this fight, because there's a promise for those who remain firm even in the midst of pain and fear. You need to understand something essential. Every prayer, no matter how simple, is a brick in this spiritual fortress that protects your home. When you gather your family and pray, even if no one completely understands what is happening, you are creating something powerful, something that darkness cannot break. But before you think that saying pretty words is enough, I need to remind you that faith is not about appearance, it is about surrender. The enemy does not fear the sound of words, he fears the sincerity of the heart. He fears when you, in pieces, choose to stand up and cry out for protection. The world can offer you many distractions, but none of them will fill the void left by the absence of the sacred. No shortcut will protect your home in the way that an honest prayer said in union with the one you love can do. So today I make you an invitation, not an easy invitation, but a necessary one, that ignites faith within your home. No matter if there are doubts or if you feel you are alone, start with a simple gesture. Close your eyes and ask, "Protect my home. Protect those I love." It doesn't have to be perfect, it has to be real. Because I promise you, when you take this step, something will change. You may not see it right away, but you will feel a weight. A fear will leave your chest and it will begin to dissipate, because where there is faith, there is light, and where there is light, darkness cannot remain. But don't stop here, the journey is not over yet. What comes next is the most important part. How to maintain this fortress standing day after day. How to make this faith unshakable even when everything seems to want to bring you down. You have come too far to give up now. Let's move forward together. Victory begins the moment you choose not to give up. You didn't get here by chance. None of this is a coincidence. Every word, every moment, every feeling that brought you here was a call to something greater, because the truth is simple but overwhelming. You were chosen to be the fortress of your home. No matter what they told you, no matter how many times they tried to convince you that you weren't strong enough, the truth is that there is a latent strength within you that has not yet been completely awakened. But before I move on, I need to be even clearer. This is not a battle that is won with luck or good intentions. This is a silent and relentless war. It is not a war with weapons or armies, but with small daily decisions, sometimes almost imperceptible, but that define the destiny of entire families. And here the harsh reality will come. If you don't get up, the shadows will find a way, not because you let them in intentionally, but because when you don't build a shield, the door is already open. And they don't come in making noise. They arrive tired at the end of the day, a silly discussion that turns into distance, into the coldness that turns hugs into absences. They hide in the habit of living without purpose until one day disconnection becomes the only reality that remains. Do you know what that means? That every moment is a chance to reconnect, to hold on tight to the hands of those you love and remember that you are not alone, because that is exactly what the enemy wants you to believe, that you are isolated, that no one understands you, that fighting for your faith is a lonely and outdated battle. But listen carefully, this is a lie. It has always been, because there is a greater force that walks by your side even when you don't realize it. A force that sees you when you are silent, trying to be strong so as not to collapse. A force that does not abandon you when fear knocks on the door. And it is this force that you need to call into your home, into your heart. And you do not need great rituals or ceremonies for this. You just need one thing: willingness. Willingness to do your part, to get up even when it seems easier to give up, because divine protection is not passive. It is an alliance, and every alliance requires commitment. It does not need to be perfect, but it needs to be true. Today you are called to be more than just a spectator. You are called to be the voice that interrupts the silence, the heart that does not give up, the light that illuminates where before there was only darkness, because you know deep down that what is at stake is not small. What is at stake is the future of your home, the peace you seek so much, and the faith that can be passed on or forgotten by the next generations. And I tell you with all certainty, when you make this decision, things begin to change, maybe not in the way you expected, maybe not at the pace you want, but they change, because where there is faith, there is movement, where there is prayer, there is transformation. So what are you going to do? Will you continue thinking that tomorrow will be easier? Will you continue hoping that everything will resolve itself? Or will you get up today and decide that the protection of your home starts with you, not with what others do or don't do, but with your choice to be the spiritual wall that your home needs, no matter what your journey has been like up until now? Here, it doesn't matter if you got lost, if you hesitated, if you remained silent when you should have spoken. What matters is what you do from now on, because now, in this moment, you have the chance to change everything. I'm not going to tell you it will be easy, but I will tell you that it will be possible. And I will remind you that you are not alone, because around the world many like you are waking up, holding tight to their prayers and their families even in the midst of chaos. This fight is yours, but it will never be just you against the world. Now take a deep breath, and let's go together until the end, because this story does not end with fear, it ends with faith, hope, and victory. And you have already taken the first step. The journey continues. Release this truth, hold it with all your strength. The end can still be written by you. You've come this far because you know that giving up is not an option. And if you're tired, scared, or feeling the weight of every word, that means you are still struggling, because he only feels tired who has not stopped walking yet. And it is precisely this persistence that can change everything. The silence you feel around you is not just the absence of sounds. It is the waiting of the spiritual, watching what you are going to do next, because there is a moment in every battle when everything seems too quiet, as if the universe is holding its breath. This is the moment of greatest importance, the moment when those who hesitate are lost, but those who stand firm become unshakable. You cannot allow that your story ends with an if. You cannot accept that your home, your loves, your peace are just memories of what they once were, because the absence that settles in homes that abandon their faith is not just physical. It is an emptiness that corrodes from within, an absence that takes shape in gestures, in distant glances, and in silence loaded with unspoken meanings. And that is what many still have not understood. The battle begins in the soul, in things that are not visible to the eyes, but are felt in the heart. And that is why it is so dangerous, because the enemy knows where to attack. He does not destroy with just one blow. He slowly dissolves until the foundations collapse. And when the spiritual pillars are gone, when the elderly who support prayer disappear, what is left? But you are not here to mourn or to accept a fate you did not choose. You are here to rise up, to decide with every piece of your being that your house will not be destroyed, that your family will not be taken by the chaos, because no matter how dark the night is, the simple act of turning on a light can change everything. And that light is inside you. Don't think you need to be strong all the time. It's not about being perfect. It's about getting up when you fall. It's about praying even when you don't know how to start, even when everything seems lost. A single prayer said with sincerity can be the thread that prevents collapse, because where there is faith, there is resistance. Where there is prayer, darkness does not prevail. Have you ever noticed that when fear tries to steal your voice, it makes you believe that it's no use anymore, that it's too late? But listen to this carefully. It's never too late when you choose to act. Each day is a new chance. Each prayer is one more brick in the wall that protects your home, and the more you strengthen this wall, the harder it becomes for evil to enter. There are no tricks. There are no shortcuts. There is faith and decision, and this decision is yours today, now. Not tomorrow, not when everything falls apart, now, because while you hesitate, the cracks widen, and at the same time, while you pray, the cracks close. What you choose to do in this moment can be the difference between keeping your home standing or watching it succumb. If you feel your strength failing, remember this: you don't have to fight alone. The one who called you here would never leave you at the mercy of this battle without protection. God does not abandon those who give themselves wholeheartedly, and it doesn't matter how lost you have felt up until now. He doesn't see you for your flaws, but for the potential of what you can be. So look around you once more, see who is by your side, see who depends on your strength even if they don't say it. Understand that you are more important than you think. A link, a living column, a symbol of resistance. What you do now echoes far beyond the present. It could be the beginning of a new story. So don't let yourself get down, don't stop, don't go back. If the world pushes you, hold on even tighter, because this story doesn't end with fear, despair, or destruction. This story ends with victory. If you got this far, you are already much closer to her than you think. The next step is yours. Hold on tight to your faith and take that step, because when you move with faith, the impossible loses control over you. Now move forward. You already know what you need to do. The journey is not over yet, but victory has already begun within you, and it is what will sustain everything around you. If you are here now, It is because the decision has already been made in your heart. You will not give up. You will not let your house become a silent ruin, nor that fear steals the future of those you love. You understand that faith is not about not being afraid. It is about not letting fear control your choices. And from this moment on, each step you take has a purpose. You can feel the weight of it. You can feel how things start to change inside you. It's not a coincidence. It's the truth taking shape, breaking the chains that tried to hold you back for so long, because the enemy knows where to attack. But he doesn't know how to deal with someone who gets up even after being knocked down, doesn't know how to deal with a heart that even when wounded continues to beat with faith. And now I'm going to tell you something that maybe you haven't realized yet. You don't need absolute certainties to win this battle. You don't need having all the answers or being invincible. What you need is to keep going, because that's what makes someone unshakable, the ability to remain firm when everything around seems to fall apart. Many will ask you, why so much effort? Why fight so hard if no one seems to understand? And the answer is simple but powerful. Because true love does not accept losing. Because protecting the one you love is not an obligation. It is a mission that was written in your heart before you even realized it. And do not think that this strength comes from you alone. It does not. It comes from something much bigger. Something that sustains you even when you think you're on the verge of collapse. This strength reaches you in the most unlikely moments. At the exact moment you think about giving up, and it whispers, "I'm with you." So take a deep breath and look around you once again. See every detail of your home, not just the walls and objects, but the memories it carries, the laughter of those you love, the hugs, the moments of faith, the words of comfort. That's why you fight. That's why you can't give in, because you know that all of this is worth more than any fear, more than any shadow that tries to impose itself. You may be small in the eyes of the world, but in the field of faith, you are a giant. With each prayer, with each supplication, with each word of faith, you build something that no force of darkness can tear down. And you know what is most incredible? This force not only protects you, it overflows and reaches others. When you decide to fight, you strengthen those who don't even know they need to be protected. But I need to be honest. There will be difficult days, days when you will question whether you are really making a difference, days when the voices of fear and doubt will sound louder. But in those days, remember one thing. The greatest battles are reserved for those who have the ability to win them. If you have been called to this fight, it is because within you there is already everything you need to triumph, and it does not matter what they say outside. The world may be falling apart, but peace within your home depends on your decision not to let faith die, because where there is prayer, there is hope, where there is faith, there is life, and where there is God, no darkness can prevail. So if everything around you seems lost, remember you are the wall, and you are called not to be destroyed, but to be strengthened. And I tell you with all the letters, your history does not end with defeat, it ends with victory, with unity, with light, because those who persevere until the end, those who choose to continue even when everything seems impossible, always find a way. Now it's yours. Get up, pray like never before, live every moment knowing that you were called for something greater. Don't look back. Don't doubt what you feel in your heart. The journey is not over yet, but the victory has already begun, and it begins with you. You have come a long way. We have reached the moment where everything needs to be clear. The battle is ahead of you, and retreating is not an option anymore. What I'm going to tell you now is not to comfort you, but to prepare you, because when the storm comes, what will keep you standing is not the strength of your arms or the firmness of your spirit. There exist moments when fear no longer whispers. It screams and convinces you that you are alone, that what you do is not enough, that falling is inevitable. And it is at that moment, when the darkness seems densest, that you need to remember, the shadows are only stronger when we forget that the light is within us. What is happening is not an accident or a coincidence, and no matter how painful it is, you need to understand that this does not happen to destroy you but to reveal your strength. This is the essence of every trial, testing the foundations, exposing what is real, and making fall what is no longer solid. You need to ask yourself, what am I sustained by? What do I truly believe? Because in the end, it won't be the pretty speeches that will keep you standing, but your choice to remain firm no matter how high the winds are. What matters is the depth of your roots, and you have already proven so far that you have strong roots. The world does not understand the value of faith. It tries to replace it with quick answers, with empty promises, and with distractions that seem to fill, but in fact leave an even bigger void. But you are not like the world. You know that what is not seen can be more powerful than anything that is visible. That's why you can't hesitate now. Every prayer you make, every word you say with sincerity, is an act of resistance. It is like an invisible wall that grows around your house. Maybe you don't see it immediately, but the protection is there, firm, and where there is faith, evil cannot remain. But I will be straight with you. This fight requires perseverance. It won't be a victory achieved overnight. There will be times when you feel tired and think about quitting. It's in those moments that you need to remember that you've come too far to give up now, because when you stay even in the midst of pain, something extraordinary happens. Pain turns into strength, fear turns into courage. And that is why the enemy tries in every way to make you stop, because he knows that perseverance is what brings victory. He knows that a heart that decides continuing cannot be defeated. So I ask you, what is your choice today? Will you be like those who give in to despair, or like those who stand firm even when everything seems to fall apart? What comes next is the ultimate test, the moment in which the masks fall and each heart reveals what it really carries inside. And I tell you with all certainty that whoever remains in faith even with tears in their eyes will be strengthened. Whoever resists fear with sincere prayers will see victory arrive. So hold on tight, not out of stubbornness, but out of love for your home, your family, and the greater purpose that brought you here, because this is not just your fight. It is the fight of everyone who came before you and those who come after you. Every prayer you make echoes through the generations, creating a chain that darkness cannot break. And when it is all over, you will look back and see that even in the darkest nights, you were never alone. The journey continues, but now you are stronger than ever. It is almost over, and victory is within your reach. The question that remains is, are you ready to cross the final stage? Because I promise you, if you have come this far, you already have everything you need to win. We will continue. The next step is conquest. We are reaching the final moment, and you are here, firm even after every word that tried to shake your certainties. This is not a coincidence. It is proof that you were called to resist, fight, and win. But now the time has come for you to fully understand what is at stake. It is not just a moment or a bad phase. It is the fate of what you love most. The enemy is in no hurry. He infiltrates the cracks of indifference and grows stronger in the lack of prayer. He watches the moments when you feel exhausted and discouraged and tries to convince you that the battle is already lost. But he doesn't count on something powerful: your resistance, your ability to get up once, twice, 10 times, even when it seems like there's no more strength. And I'm going to tell you something important. You got here not because you were perfect, but because you were persevering. Faith is not about knowing all the answers. Faith is holding on tight when everything around you asks you to let go. That's what makes you stronger than any shadow that tries to invade your life, because where true faith is, there is no room for fear to triumph. Now close your eyes for a moment, take a deep breath, remember the faces of those you love, remember the good times, the laughter, the stories shared. That's what you are protecting. Every prayer, every decision to stand firm, is a direct defense against the forces that want to steal the peace of your home. And you have already realized that you are not fighting only for you. You are the pillar that protects those who may not even realize the danger lurking. But here comes the greatest truth: you are not alone, you never were. Every prayer you said, even with a trembling voice, was heard. Every tear was seen, and there is a much greater force that sustains you, even when you don't feel it. This force grows stronger in you every time you say yes to faith and no to despair. The end of this journey is before you, and it will not be marked by ruin, but by victory, because he who remains standing until the end, even wounded, even with fear, will be crowned with the peace that the world can't take away. The promise is not of the absence of storms, but of protection during each one of them. If you've come this far, then you've already understood you're capable. You were chosen to be a light in the darkness, a wall in times of disorder, and a voice of faith in the midst of silence. When everything around you tries to convince you that it's not worth it, remember this moment. Remember that you chose to fight when you could have given up. And now I make a request of you. Don't keep this just to yourself. Others also need to hear, feel, and awaken. Share this message with those you know are losing their strength. Be a channel of hope, because when you strengthen another heart, you further strengthen your own spiritual wall. Victory is in your hands, and the next chapter will be written by you. Pray fervently, love deeply, and live with purpose, because when it is all over, you will not be remembered as someone who gave in to fear, but as one who fought until the end and protected what was sacred. The story is not over yet, but the light is already shining, and this time it is you who carries it. Here we are, the moment through which you went through all the stages. The end is not the end of everything, but the beginning of something new, a new reality built not by the absence of challenges, but by the victory over each one of them. You got here with a purpose, with a heart that did not give up, and this is living proof that you belong to those who overcome. What remains now is simple, but it's not easy, to live what you believed in, to make faith something tangible, present in every gesture, in every word, in every prayer, because faith is not something that only happens in times of struggle. It needs to be the foundation of everything you build. Now more than ever, you have the responsibility to keep the flame burning, because when the light is lit inside a home, it doesn't just illuminate those who live there. It goes through walls and reaches hearts that didn't even know they needed light. The world will still try to convince you that all of this was just a moment of inspiration, that in the end everything goes back to normal, that routine consumes you, and that nothing really changes. But now you know that this is not true. Now you carry within you the certainty that the battle was fought within you first, and you won. This victory is not temporary. It is not fleeting. It is the beginning of a new life of purpose, of conscious decision, and of living faith. Look around you, see what you protected. Every prayer you made was like a seed planted. Maybe you still don't see the fruits, but they are growing silently. One day you will look back and realize that everything was worth it. Every tear, every night of prayer, every decision to resist fear and choose faith, built something that the shadows can never destroy. And you know what is most powerful? Now you have become a point of light in the midst of darkness. Your story will inspire others who are silent, trapped in fear, not knowing where to run. They will look at you and realize that if you did it, they can do it too. Your faith is not just yours, it spreads, it creates roots in other hearts. But don't forget, maintaining this fortress requires commitment. Don't let the routine put out the fire that was lit here. Every day is a new opportunity to strengthen your faith, to raise your voice in prayer, and to transform your home into one of protection, because the shadows still exist, but now you know that they no longer have power where the light remains. The time has come to live with authority, to remember every day that you are not a hostage to circumstances. You are the one who carries within you the strength to resist, protect, and win, and that changes everything. So I ask you, what are you going to do now? Are you going to let it get lost in the back of your mind, or are you going to make it the starting point for a new phase of your life? If you've made it this far, I believe that you already know the answer. Victory was written with each step you have taken so far. Keep walking, keep believing, because what comes next is the peace you fought to achieve. Take this message with you and share it with those who need to hear the light you carry. It's not just yours. It was made to illuminate many others. The story doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. The next chapter of your journey depends on you. Get up, live with faith, be the difference, and remember, victory is already yours.